I do kind of want to open the interview by saying, let's get back in the saddle, or let's get you back in the saddle, because that quote, the amount of times I've heard that over the last 3 weeks has been hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. I was trying to look and see if, well, I'll save it for the interview, but yeah, when we get there.
Yeah, honestly, like it's genuinely become like the iconic Shade quote, I feel like. And I did get several comments about that. Get her to say, let's get you back in the saddle. I was like, no, I'll put it in the intro and then that'll do it. It's a good way to start it off, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Payday 3 interview where this time we have got a very special guest, someone who has joined the cast of Payday with the launch of Payday 3 last month. It is none other than the voice of our new operator Shade, Kosha Engler. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm very, very excited to get into a new character for Payday. I don't get the opportunity all that often, so I'm very keen to learn a lot more. And we've had a lot of questions from the audience as well, so I'm sure we're going to have a good little chat here.
Super.
It's going to be good. So, first off, I just want to ask, because we talked about this a little bit actually just before we got started. So, the accent. So, you live in UK, but you're from America. That's where the blend comes from, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I live in London. I've been here for like 20 years and I come from Maryland. But I have this weird, like Madonna-esque, like in Friends, that episode. I live in London, so I have this weird hybrid accent. So like for games, mostly I'm American, so I have to like turn up the American. But then sometimes they ask for this thing that I have, this like mid-Atlantic accent.
You get a good little mix. It offers you up more roles then, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's more flexible. It's good. Well, speaking of roles, let's start with the obvious question, not to play too much into the typical structure, but I'm interested to know, how did you get into acting? How did that industry come about for you? What was your way in?
Yeah, so I mean, it was very early interest. I was like in all the plays in high school. It's sort of, usual path. All the plays in high school. I was into choir and piano and performance, mostly musicals. Then I convinced my parents to let me study it at university. So I went to a US school, was a theater major, worked in DC for about 5 years, and then came here. And, DC, it was like that was theater mostly, with like my first TV, so The Wire, and a Disney film called Tuck Everlasting, which I don't think crosses over to the Payday audience.
Maybe not so much, no.
But anyway, then came over here, and that's where all the games began, about 2007, I would say. I got my first game, and then it's just, basically been nonstop ever since.
Wow. Okay. So how come you moved over to the UK? What was the decision behind that, if I can ask?
Yeah, it was love. I met a handsome, British guy called Bennett. We're married. So still married. Woo!
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. I don't know if your listeners have heard of Renaissance festivals. So in the States, they're really big. They're like all over the States. And they're like a cross between an amusement park, a historical reenactment, and just entertainment everywhere. So I was like in the in-house company, and we were doing Henry VIII. He was married to Catherine Howard. I was playing Catherine Howard. And this very attractive guy was playing Laertes in a touring production from Cambridge of Hamlet. And we met, and he had a nice lunge with his sword. I
was going to say, steady on. Oh no, that's so sweet though. I love that, and especially that you stayed together. That's a beautiful little love story. Very cute.
Yeah.
Oh, the hapless romantic in me is loving that. I also love that you said you had to convince your parents to do a theatre major. Was that a hard convince, or was that were they relatively the sigh? Oh dear. That says it all, I think.
Okay, so my parents are excellent, and they were very supportive, but they were obviously keen for me to be, have my backup plan. My mother was successful, sort of businesswoman in the medical industry. My father was in sales, and both really smart, and were keen for me to, do a, solid job. And when I was very interested in theater, they sort of put me through the test to like make sure I was super serious. And when they saw that I was totally committed, they were behind it. As long as I could support myself, and, it was okay.
Ah, well, I think you've proved it now, right? So I'm in Payday 3, and they go, oh, right, okay, well, now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense.
Come on. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, speaking of then, so you started with video game roles in 2007. Definitely want to ask about some of those later on, but let's focus on the big one for now so that people can find out the big story. How did Payday 3 come about? How did you end up getting cast for that?
Yeah, so I looked this up. It was January 2022 that I had the audition come through. And at that point, it was just code name, as they all are. So I didn't know what it was. They sent me through a very brief character brief for the role. And I had a live Zoom audition. And it went really well, but I was like moving house, so I was in a really echoey room, so they were like, do you mind, this is really good, but do you mind if you just re-record it so we have some better sound quality? And I had this feeling that this was kind of a big one, so I thought, yeah, okay. So I put the extra time in, made some extra recordings, sent them in, and then a few weeks later got the call.
Wow.
And that was that.
Yeah, you just kind of get the sense, if they're asking you about slightly better audio, it might maybe makes you think, there could be something here. Yeah.
Exactly, because they wanted to make a demo as it was in development, and they wanted to make sure it sounded awesome.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I was glad I put the time in.
So at what point did it become clear that it was for Payday?
When I got the job, they then told me sort of all the details. They and I hadn't played Payday, so I had heard of it, I knew of it, but they gave me the full rundown of Payday 2 and like Bain and all the characters and where I would come in and all that.
Okay, well, that was what I was going to say, because the hot topic is obviously that Shade is kind of like the overtaking character from Bain. I know we had Lockstep in the interim once Bain had kind of vanished off the equation. Bain was like the original operator, and that was the kind of the preceding character. So you have a bit of an idea as to where he's come from and where Shade fits in. Then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was reading through it this morning, and they actually sent me like a 3-page biography that I don't even know if the players come across any of this backstory, but it's like this very detailed thing about her upbringing, how she got into crime, how she became, sort of this criminal, genius in the underworld of, the heist world. It's a really cool story. And they mentioned how I first came into contact with Bain and eventually took over.
Wow. Well, I mean, that takes us into the next question, because I was going to say, what was the brief on her as a character? Clearly, it wasn't brief.
It was not brief. No. For the audition, yes, but for the job, no. So I'm looking now at my little notes here. Okay, she guides the player. She's a criminal gang leader. She is a super pro and all about dependability. She's a reassuring presence with strength and confidence. She really cares about the crew. She can think on her feet. She jokes a little at the gang's expense, but she's never unfriendly. And then they basically gave all this stuff about, she's an IT expert, criminal mastermind, all this other stuff.
Blimey, this is way more stuff than we know about.
Yeah. So they were really keen on the whole professional thing, so that even under any kind of pressure or when things go wrong, which they, as you know, inevitably do, she can handle it. She can find another way. She can contact one of her many people in her network and solve the problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's because there is a bit of a difference between, like we said, between Bain and Shade. I mean, for one thing, Bain, as I said, both characters are quite good at keeping their cool, but I feel like when things go wrong, Shade she swears a lot more. She's kind of a bit more like, right, let's get this. I've got a plan, but you got to follow it. So listen to the blah 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 blah. Like, there's a bit of a key difference there between the between the performance. Did you kind of adapt anything around the material? Like, how did you end up shaping the character based on the information for the recordings?
For the audition, I did, I think I did like 3 different takes. They gave me a little paragraph to read, which was sort of like a character intro, which I don't think made it into the game. But it was like, hi, I'm Shade. And then it was like all about who I am and what I'm about and what I'm going to help you do. And I played it lots of different ways, like super hard and steely, or, kind of cool and like, I don't know, a little bit sexy.
How do you do, fellow kids? Yeah.
Yeah, so like I tried all these different things, and in the end, when I went for my first session, they played back the one that they liked the best, and we just sort of went from there.
Ah, okay. I'm honestly, I'm just dead keen to know more about what they say. 3 pages. My head's spinning, thinking, what on earth could they have told you that?
I know. I was sort of like, am I allowed to say? And I thought, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they might want to reveal it later, so I won't. But it was very cool. It was, it was this whole well thought through narrative about where she grew up and how she ended up. Where she, in her run-ins with the law and early days of failed criminal outings.
I want to know so much more now. I just want to keep asking. I want to keep asking. We'll put it on the record that for Star Wars we want to know the story. Can you put it out there, please? Can we have that done? That's really good. Yeah, because I mean, all that's really said in the cutscenes in the game is that like Shade is an associate of Bain's and that she made a promise to look after the gang. We don't. There's hints of like the IT stuff, as you said, but like we don't get a full in-depth backstory. There's not really like a bio section in this game, not yet anyway. They may add one in later, which would be perfect for that, but I'm fascinated. It's like it's right there in front of me and there's so much I want to say about it. Hopefully they will give us some more information soon. That would be really, really cool. Okay, so you got the audition originally start of 2022, so that already kind of gives us a bit of a plan over the datings and the recordings, but how long did you actually spend recording Shade over like what period of time? What was that process like over the last year and a half?
Yeah, so I looked at this as well. Apparently, it was 35 hours of recording over that entire period, and it was like a few times a month. I'd come in for anywhere between 1 hour and 3 hours, and we would do sometimes we would do like just discrete jobs, so like both the stealth and the intro and the loud version of the job. And then each time we would do new jobs or pickups from old ones, or they would change the writing because they'd changed the game a little bit. So it sort of evolved as we went along.
Okay. I can just imagine you doing like one recording for all like the heist briefings, and then you're saying, "Let's get you back in the saddle," as everyone else has been hearing it. So it's all about the iconic quotes, right? There's some things that you just heard more than others. Well, speaking of, are there any key lines that do stand out to you? I know we kind of chatted a bit before this. You're kind of similar to the other actors where you don't remember everything, but has anything kind of stood out? Any memorable lines or things that you like?
Okay, so once again, I did my research, and I was listening back, because, you know, there are these people who record, like, all the voice lines of the characters. So it's not a particular line, but one of the things I loved the most was when I sometimes do some phone calls where I pretend to be someone else.
Yeah.
So I got to do some funny character stuff, and there was like a Southern person. There's all sorts of fun characters, and we all got the giggles when I was trying to do it, because they didn't know what they wanted, and they were like, let's try it really way out there. Let's try it more normal. So that was super fun. And then my favorite job was the art gallery, because of all the stuff that they say about art and all the humor, like about, this is what they say, this is what passes for modern art, or blah, blah, blah. And I just thought it was so scathing.
Yeah, it was. Like the slacktivist comments and all that, yeah.
Yes, I loved that. I thought that was so fun.
Yeah, that was a good line mentioning the dogs playing poker. I thought that was quite good. You're kind of like, I don't really care, but if you see that painting, grab it for me, will you? Like, it's like the little offhanded jabs, I think, are so good.
Yeah, and there was a word in that I had to say so many times that was hard. Was it called spectrophotometer?
That's the one. Yep. It took me a minute to know what it was saying as well.
Spectrophotometer. Yes, because a lot of the times I would get the script ahead of time, and I'd have a chance to read through, make sure I knew how to pronounce everything. But sometimes I would just be sight reading, and I have a little technique where I sort of, I look at the line, kind of briefly read it, and then I go for it. And that one, I was like, get it right.
Yeah, like I kept going to say spectrometer first time I read it, but it was actually hearing you say it back when I heard spectrophotometer. I was like, oh, that's how. Okay, cool. That takes the problem out for me. That's cool.
Yes.
But it's funny you mentioned the Southern one as well, because that was the one I would have picked out. That phone call, which is in the jewelry store, calling the manager. Yeah. That Southern accent, it stood out to me immediately, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I love little kind of gaggy lines like that where the operator kind of plays along a bit for the bit. That's always good fun.
Totally, yeah. I re-listened to Bain doing this. You mentioned him singing, so I went and found the clip of him sort of like just randomly singing during the middle of a heist, and I thought that's so funny. That would be awesome to put in there.
Yeah, there's some great little bits like that. Well, speaking of standout bits, was there anything improvised? How much of it was following the script? Did you get to put any of your own spin on it, or is it still early days with it being a new character?
I can't think of a moment that we did any improvisation. I mean, for each line, we would pretty much do 2 takes, unless we weren't getting it, and then we'd do more. So there was improvisation in the sense of how you interpret stuff. We did lots of different ways of doing things, but we as far as the lines go, no, because I think it was pretty tied to, game programming and what was happening, and various triggers and things like that. But we did have, as you play, tons of variations on saying one specific thing, 5 different ways to get a key card, or a flash drive, or saying it 10 different ways.
Yeah, there's a bit of variation in there, yeah. But I suppose, actually, to be fair, maybe you don't need to improvise as much if they've got, again, a 3-page character brief. You can tell that's hanging on my head. That's still spinning around.
Yes.
So yeah, it seems like they did have a really good idea for the character, and I do think it's come through. It's been really, really interesting to see, because I know that was the big kind of question mark: who was going to run things, who was going to guide the gang through. And, I think Bain and Locke have both been amazing, and I still want on the record that I would like Locke to come back at some point to kind of have a bit of a role. I'd love to see him work with Shade, and that'd be really, really cool. But, yeah, who they picked for Payday 3 was like a hot topic. How's it going to work? And it was almost a bit of a risk, I feel like, going for a new character, but I think they've managed to land it. I think it's been quite good. Shade's just a really kind of, I don't know, like an interesting person to me. Like the character she puts across, I really like. And like I said, a lot of the dialogue and the stuff you've pointed out, it's really, there's some good gags in there, but there's also some good seriousness. I think there's a good blend there, so they managed to achieve it, I think, personally.
Good. Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's very hard when you're in love with a series. It's very hard when you introduce a new character because people have got to invest, and they're really used to, a certain voice or, the way the game goes, and then you change it up, and it can be disorienting. But yeah, hopefully Shade will be warmed to.
It seems like there's a lot of people who really like her, especially in some of the audience comments. I mean, I pulled out a couple that you've probably seen have got compliments in them, but there were quite a lot of people who were quite excited about the idea. And yeah, it's really nice. I mean, I suppose it's tough for Payday 3 players in one sense, because with Payday 2, every time they added a new heister, it was always a new character, because they didn't have any other old ones to draw from. They brought everyone over into the game to start with that was already existing. So every time it was adding a new character. But now there's a demand for people to bring back old characters, so I don't know how much of a scream there is for let's have new people. So it's nice when you still get one. It's like, oh, that proves that they can still get the new people right. That we still get some cool stuff. So I think it's worked, especially like between Shade and Pearl as well. I think both of the additions have been really strong. I really, really do. We'll talk about the improvisation then. So obviously, Shade's going to be hopefully here for a long time, as is Payday 3. That's the dream, right? Do you have any particular hopes for how you want to see Shade evolve? Anything you'd like to see her do or change, or any way the character might adapt as the years go by?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we kind of touched on, it's always nice to see past the professionalism. So like when she's either more playful or when she develops more relationships with specific people in the gang, or we hear more backstory, just anything to kind of round her out and see where her edges are. And it'd be cool if she was, I mean, I doubt this would ever happen, but it'd be cool if she was actually on a heist, and somebody else had to run it. Like, that'd be quite cool. But I mean, I think that's not her MO, but yeah, I think just going further with seeing who she is and more of her sort of emotional backstory, all that.
I think that'd be really good, and especially with this game now, they seem to have put more of an emphasis in the story right from the get-go, because Payday 2, for all the good it did, I've said before, I felt like the story element was very kind of tail-end heavy. They kind of were like, let's add something in here, and it was all in the last year or two where it kind of really, really picked up. Whereas this time you've got the cutscenes and all the kind of building up of the characters. So I think it does lend more to, hopefully, allowing the characters to kind of grow and evolve a bit. And like I said, like you said there, like, I would like to see Shade, a bit more of her backstory. As we've said, I'm going to keep saying they've got plenty of ammo, they've got plenty of things they can add in, so it would be cool to see that go somewhere.
Yeah, and she has beef with certain characters that they come up against that they want to ruin, and it'd be quite cool to actually see some scenes, flashbacks of what actually went down, why she has a personal vendetta against certain people.
Oh, yes.
So that would be quite cool.
That would be really, really cool. I would like that a lot. That'd be good. The possibilities. The possibilities are endless. I like it. I like it. Okay, so I want to spend some time on other stuff that you've done, but this is kind of like almost a bridge thing. I'm personally interested from this, from people who've seen the last interview, have already got a bit more of an idea now. But I wanted to ask a bit about singing, because that's in your bio on your socials that you're into singing. So to start off with, what's the story there? How deep does that go? Is that like a hobby, or is that something you do alongside the acting? How does that work?
Yeah, it's something I've been doing for a long time. As I say, in high school, I started voice lessons, and for a long time I thought I wanted to be a kind of Broadway star, and I would go and see everything, and I was obsessed with musicals like Les Mis, Jesus Christ Superstar. I am really aging myself. And then later, like Hamilton, obsessed, and I would listen to them so many, I would memorize them from beginning to end, sing all the roles, and, imagine myself doing it. And then for a little bit at university, I did all the musicals there, and I was a double major in voice and in theater for just one semester, and then found it was just far too much to try and do all of it. It was just too demanding. And also something about, I loved classical singing, but something about it was too restrictive, and I felt like everything kind of closing up. Like I didn't feel as free as I did when I was doing musicals. And so then it kind of went on the back burner for a while. And then recently, in about like 2018, I started coming back to it, and I started doing some open mics, and I discovered I really love jazz and pop and folk and country.
Oh, wow.
And just felt that those genres were way more freeing and really suited my voice, which is a little bit deeper. And I found some musicians, I found a guitarist, and we did some stuff together, and it was a real joy. And then, so I was in an improv group for a little while.
Yeah.
Called Live Wired. And it was a comedy improv group. It was like, whose line is it anyway? We would do, improv games, comedy games. And we started doing improv singing. So there's a group called Showstoppers in London, which is like, they do full-length musicals, improvised from beginning to end. Yeah. They are amazing. You should see them. But in that style, we started doing some games that involved singing. And so I started getting really into this. And so we would do these shows that had a structure, but then we'd have an accompanist who was also an improviser musically. And they would start, we'd have a scene, whatever the theme was, let's say Lost Love. He'd start playing a thing. I would just start a verse, and then we'd get to a chorus. And we had these ways of, bringing everyone in and making it seem like it was not rehearsed, but, it was sort of polished.
Yeah.
That was like really fun. We did that for a couple of years. And now, this is a long answer to your question.
No, this is fascinating. I'm loving it.
So the singing has like encompassed all sorts of things. But now I am in a choir that's part of this. It's a local choir in Barnes where I live, and we do pop music. And now I'm also in like a trio, and we do really close harmonies. And we've just begun, and we're doing a lot of jazz, some pop, some musical stuff, and we are hoping to start performing around London. And basically I want to sing at any given point. So.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's a lot more than I was expecting. That's brilliant. That's so cool. So, well, hang on. So, a few things I need to ask about. The first thing, no, it was brilliant. Can people hear anything you've done anywhere? Is it available on like Spotify, YouTube, anything like that?
I have some small bits on Instagram. There's like little clips and stuff.
Okay.
Some of the gigs that I've done, they didn't allow recording, so annoyingly, no. But we're going to do some recordings for the trio soon. I do have a couple of like demo reel stuff, but not like, it's something I would like to do is actually record some of the stuff that we do. So I'll send you links if.
Yeah, please do. Anything I can. If you send me anything, I can put it in the description that way on YouTube, and people can check it out. Or if it's just something you want to send me in and keep me posted, that's fine too. We can always announce when you got something cool. That'd be brilliant. That's really cool. And I really love that you said it was an open mic that set you back up, because that's what's happened with me recently. I did it at an open mic, and that kind of reignited my love for it. Yeah. So it was really weird you saying that, and me being like, that's the same thing as what happened with me. What?
Cool. So you sing as well?
A little bit, like casually. Like I'm not pursuing it to any kind of proper level. It was funny because I mentioned it in the interview I did last week with Gustavo, who did the music, and he's kind of followed my singing a tiny bit over the last couple of years, and he made sure to put in the interview. He's like, put a clip in.
Oh yeah.
So it's been in there. I'll send you something. I've put a couple of things on my Instagram, so you can follow both of our Instagrams, folks, if you're not already, and then you can check it out. Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, that's so strange that it's kind of, we've both kind of got a similar reignition story for it. That's really cool.
Yeah, like absolutely. Sometimes, if you're just stuck in one way, you got to find another way in that's feels a bit more right, for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of almost half answers my question, because I feel like I know where this is going to go then. But Payday has had some songs in the past, whether it be songs that are just like proper full-on like heist tracks with lyrics, or some more goofy Christmas stuff. Like, would you be interested in doing like a Shade song in Payday 3 if they asked you?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
I expected anything different after the last 5 minutes.
No, exactly. Well, I had a session yesterday for Payday. And,
did you?
Can't say anything else.
Oh.
Yeah. And next time I'm gonna mention that. Hey guys, if you want some Shade singing, I'm there.
Oh, we're lighting the fire now. This is good. This is very, very good. Well, Pete Gold still does some stuff for Hoxie. He did a Payday 2 Christmas song for 2021. It wasn't last year. So like there's still a few people who do like singing bits like that, and other actors have chipped in at times. So.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, no, I think I should let him know. Yeah.
I think a Payday 3 Christmas album would be pretty damn cool, I think. I like the sound of that. Good to know that there's an option there. I like that a lot. Oh, that was really interesting, just getting to hear the singing stuff. That's fab. Honestly, from my end, I was expecting it to be like, it's a hobby. Yeah, I like doing it every now and again. Maybe a little bit of it. No, there's that full story. That was brill. That was really, really good. Then let's keep in theme with other stuff you're doing. So one thing that I really like to do, because obviously, I brought you in for one main reason that everyone wants to know about, but I think it's always good to expand people's knowledge of what else you've been up to. So this is kind of like a turning the mic over to you, because I kind of want you to lead with what you think is the best way to answer this. But I like to explore people's work outside of the role we're talking about. So whether it be key roles you've done, like things people know you most for. I know that you've appeared in The Batman, and I'm very intrigued to hear about that. But whether it be things that you're more known for, or just things that you're like stand out more to you in your career, what else have you done outside of Payday that people might like to know?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to KoshaEngler.com and you go to the games page, if you're interested in that, you can see every single game that I've done, and you'll see a lot of AAAs there, some indie games, and most recently, two roles I really enjoyed were in Cyberpunk 2077. So I was Elizabeth Perales in that, and it's the I'm trying to remember the name of the quest, but basically it's the mayor and his wife. And she's like this. She's sort of like Robin Wright in House of Cards. She's like the silver-tongued thing. Yeah. And she has a really cool story. And also Nancy, and the claim to fame there, Nancy is like this old, hardened rocker. And I have scenes with Keanu Reeves. Ooh. and my favorite, he was just in my ear. So like they had recorded Keanu and doing his lines as Johnny Silverhand. And it was just so awesome to like, they would play in his lines as I was doing mine. And at one point, I think he says something like, "All right, there's Nancy. Yeah, man, Nancy gets shit done."
Oh, you're getting your own little personal little shout out from Keanu without even realizing it.
That was a highlight moment of that. Yeah, so that was super cool. And then Dying Light 2, so I played a character called Veronica.
Okay.
And she also has a really cool storyline, and it's really nice and dramatic and emotional and stuff. And anyway, so that's a great game. But you can go on and see Horizon Forbidden West. I play a character called Faraday, who's like political, and you can see her give a great speech that inspires Aloy to do some stuff.
Yeah, some big name games there. It is really, really cool. And I will leave a link to it in the description. I'm just bringing it up to just have a little scroll through to remind myself, because I had a bit of a look and I was like, there's a lot going on here. There are a lot of games. Like my head was kind of spinning a little bit.
Yes, there's a lot of games. So I think I as I did my little search through when Shade just had come out, and I was sort of just seeing what the reaction was, I saw that there was like, before my name was announced, that lots of people were going, "Who is that? I'm sure I've heard that voice." And then they were like naming. I was really enjoying.
Oh, let me tell you, it was so funny, because I did have like a moment on one of my live streams where we were like looking up people going, I think it's this person, and I was like listening to roles they'd done, be like, right. That sounds a bit like I don't, maybe it could be. Like, it was so fun trying to play like investigator and work out who it was. I think your name did come up at one point, because when it was announced I was like, I have heard that. I think someone suggested your name already. But yeah, no, I'm just looking back over to remind myself. Yeah, Lego Star Wars, A Way Out, Star Wars Battlefront 2. There were so many things here that just popped out to me, and I was like, we could spend an hour talking about half of this stuff.
Yes, so for game lovers, that is the place to go, and you can see them. And I have a game reel on my website where you can hear little snippets of some of them. But then outside of games, as you say, Batman, we can talk about that in a second, and I did Industry for HBO, Very Valentine, which I doubt this is, again, crossover. It's a romantic comedy, American one, and Victoria, the series with Jenna Coleman about Queen Victoria, which was an amazing experience. Basically, every time I go onto a set, I don't think it'll ever get old. Every time I go onto a film or TV set, I feel like a kid at an amusement park. Like it's like everything is wow, everything's amazing, and just can't get enough of it. Really.
Oh, no. Yeah, there was quite a few. Yeah, I saw Victoria. That got me a little bit because I was like, wow, because I've seen bits of Victoria, and that's like a fantastic thing. So going through like different eras as well, and different types of, going from like superhero to like period piece, there's a good mix there as well. That's also got to keep it quite fresh, I imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the amount of talent that goes into making these things, from the art design to the costumes to, I mean, just the scale as well, what they're able to accomplish. I mean, it's just so cool. In Victoria, the thing that I remember is I had to do a scene where I was in a carriage, and they had a proper period carriage, and horses, and like a, what do you call it? The rider dude. Like the rider.
We're calling him the rider dude. I think that's much better.
So he's like, obviously. So he's like.
That's just perfect. I'm gonna call him that from now on.
So he's like, this guy obviously just goes around doing, period films and TV things, and just drives the carriages. And he was in costume and stuff. And I was in this beautiful costume. And the action of the scene was, we were at a stately home, and the scene begins with me sort of getting driven up, and then I have a scene through a window to another character, and then I say, see ya, and then we drive off. But because the horse couldn't back up, we had to, between every take, we had to go like round and round, all the way around. And I was like, so basically, I don't know how many takes we did, 10, 12, and I got to just spend the day riding around in this like Victorian carriage driven by this dude. And I was like,
driven by the rider dude, yeah.
Dude, and it was amazing.
Oh, yeah, a nice little bit of, like, a bit of escapism almost in between your takes. Just imagining that you're in an actual period, like you're actually in that world, or thinking you're in Downton Abbey or something, being driven around. Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. So the Batman then, what's the story there? It sounds like you got something to say about that, and I'm very intrigued.
Well, I auditioned with a dummy script. I didn't even know I was going up for Batman. It was just another script of a movie that had already been made, and it was a tearful mother with her son. And I didn't know until I got to the actual physical audition. They said, oh, by the way, this is Batman. And I was like, oh, okay. And I did the thing, and it went really well. And I had sort of forgotten about it. And I just thought, well, guess it didn't happen. And then I get the call going, the director really liked it, and you're in it. But my agent had called, but he also didn't say what it was. So I was like, great. And I was like reeling back, like, what did I audition for? And then he forwarded me the email, like, from Matt Reeves going, yeah, we loved her audition, like, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, yeah, it's basically out of this world to go and work on a, superhero film of that scale. I mean, just
it's a brilliant
insane.
film, yeah.
I probably was on set total of maybe 3-4 weeks, but over a long time, because it was stopped during the pandemic, and we were at lots of different locations. And my character turns up a lot, but in the end, she didn't have any lines. Mostly I just cry to camera. They spent a lot of time just smudging mascara because my husband, in the trailer you can see it, my husband, the mayor, is killed by the dude, the Riddler.
Yeah. Everyone's a dude. I'm going to come up with the riddle dude now. The rider dude, the riddle dude.
Yeah. So I'm in a fair amount of scenes, but again, with something like this, with all the confidentiality, they don't send you the whole script. They only send you your bits. Everything's redacted. And it's very surreal because it's almost like an actor's nightmare, because you turn up for your fitting and they've got a huge, probably thousands of pounds worth of clothes options for you. Like, and there, also in the background are, maybe Batman's like cape or whatever, and you're just casually there.
You see them just hanging around, yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Anyway, so they then I'm like, so what are all these? What are the scenes? Like, what am I doing on this film? And at one point they go, yeah, this is the bit where you get rescued by Batman. There's a water scene. I was like, what? And they built this whole thing up, and they're like, yeah, so we're going to have to get you wet. So you're going to have to wear, waterproofs underneath. And they were describing this whole big thing. So I had all these, like, this big imagination of what this rescue scene was going to be. And I was like, this is so cool. the filming goes on, and if you've seen the film, you may remember that, I won't give it away if you haven't, but basically there's a bit where there's been a big explosion and some people are in rubble in the water. And I am one of those people. And even right before we shot this scene, which was shot at a huge hangar, like a huge old hangar, and they had created this big tank full of water, and they had recreated this little section of the place that had been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was huge, absolutely huge, and all this extras there, and stunt doubles and everything. And Matt and Rob Pattinson and I and some other actors, Matt goes, okay, we're going to rehearse this scene, and this is how it's going to go. And basically he goes, so-and-so, you're going to get rescued, and then your son, he's going to get rescued, and then Batman's going to extend a hand to you, and you're going to take his hand and go over here, and you're going to swim away, follow him.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, sweet. So we get to the moment of truth. And Batman, it's like this iconic moment. He lights this red flare, and it lights the whole place up with water. And he reaches his hand back, and the first character gets saved. And then the boy playing my son, Archie Barnes, wonderful little actor, he gets saved. And then he reaches for me, and then the flare just kind of trickles out, goes out, cut.
Oh,
and
no. Oh, no.
So they try this now 3 times, the flare going. They get to me, it falls apart. And I'm like, and then at one point they go, somebody comes to me like an AD and is like, sorry, Kosha, you're going to get rescued by a stunt double, and so sorry about that, but your rescue's cut. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh no.
So you can see in the film, he gets the new mayor, he gets my son, and then he just takes off.
Just walks off.
Some random kind stunt man reaches for me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, fine.
Oh my god.
But hey,
Hollywood magic, baby. Hollywood magic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I mean, anyway, it was awesome. I got to meet so many amazing people. I got to meet all the sort of main actors nearly, and just to be on it was kind of mind-blowing experience. So cool.
Yeah, and bouncing between sets as well. Did you do any of the stuff in Liverpool, just as a local guy, just asking about that? Because there was some stuff in Liverpool.
No, I didn't. My stuff was up in Cardington. Can't remember the exact location, but basically, it was at this hangar. It was shot in a hangar. So you know in the trailer, the scene where they're like it's at the funeral.
Yes,
it's at the funeral.
Yeah.
That scene was one of the biggest ones we shot. We shot that over a week, and there were hundreds of people there, and the car comes crashing through the room.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where that was, but it was at the same hangar that they then repurposed to do this tank scene later. Gosh,
it's amazing how quick they can rearrange stuff like that. Like that never ceases to stop blowing my mind. It's so cool. Well, there you go. The insight into being on a superhero film. Now that is exciting.
Yes.
Any other TV shows or films that you want to try and get into?
That I want to get into?
Let's see if you got a target.
Well, they've stopped Ted Lasso now, so that would have been awesome.
Oh.
And they're about, of course, I'm afraid the gates are closed for Stranger Things final season, because that is my current favorite show, and I'm a super fan. Wheel of Time would have been awesome. Basically, I love those sorts of, The Witcher. I love historical dramas. I love, obviously, things like Game of Thrones, but stuff that's out there now. I'm, of course, now blanking on it. Sex Education. A friend of mine is in that, and she plays the art teacher in this current season. And so irreverent and funny and heartfelt. Love those sorts of shows.
A lot of different goals. That's good. You got a good wide range of things to be in there, and not all of them are finished. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're in the UK, there's one you got to shoot for. You got to try and shoot for Doctor Who at some point, right?
Of course, yeah. That would be awesome.
You got to shoot for that. Well, they're still filming at the minute. You never know. See if you can get in at some point. I know I would very much like that. I don't think my backdrop gives that away at all. Actually, how much Doctor Who stuff is there behind me currently? Oh yeah, there's like pictures of all the Doctors right behind me, like there. You can't see it as easily, but that's all. That's all Doctor Who stuff. Yes. So yeah, there's a bit. There's a bit.
Now.
Okay, cool. Well, let's finish off our section before we get to some audience questions. Just to ask you, I mean, this could be redacted, as you said. You already had a session yesterday for Payday that you can't talk about, but what's next for you? Anything big coming up, either Payday or not related, that's you're doing that you want to share with everyone, or is it all very much watch this space?
There are a few things I can share.
Oh, go for it.
So for people who like heists, there's a new Disney Plus series coming out called Culprits.
Okay.
And that stars Gemma Arterton and Nathan Stewart Jarrett. And it's going to be a brilliant show. It's directed and written by a guy called Jay Blakeson, who did I Care a Lot, the film.
Okay.
Anyway, it looks. I've been to screening of the first couple of episodes, and it looks amazing. I have a small role in it, but it looks great. I can't say anything else about the plot, but it is a heist thriller.
That should
show.
get some people into it. So sounds good.
I think it's going to be great. What else? Okay, so also on TV, on Netflix, I'm in a show called Eric, which stars Benedict Cumberbatch.
Ooh.
And it's a really, really cool limited... I have a recurring role in that one. I play another mayor's wife type role. And it's set in the 80s, and it's a limited series. It's written by Abby Morgan, directed by Lucy Forbes, who did This Is Going to Hurt.
Oh, you've sold me. You've sold me now.
It's a real prestige project. I mean, everybody, all the people involved, the production company Sister, they did The Power. It's just super, super high-end drama, and I think it's going to be really, really special. It's just a limited series, so it's just 6 episodes, I think, and then it's done. But he's no doubt going to be amazing in it, Benedict, and that's coming out next year. The costumes are so amazingly 80s.
Ooh, okay.
I have such fabulous shoulder pads.
I love the 80s. That's hooked me in as well. That and Lucy Forbes working on it, that's brilliant too. This Is Going to Hurt is amazing. Such a great program.
It really is. It's one of the best things I've seen. And she was so cool and down to earth to work with. I absolutely loved it. Games. We've got RoboCop Rogue City coming out on the 2nd of November. RoboCop Rogue City, 2nd of November. I play Anne Lewis, and I pretty much have copied the original voice of Anne Lewis, so she's like his partner.
Okay.
I don't know. This is going back for the youngins.
Yeah.
Going back to the old days. So that's coming out. That's by Teon, so they're a smaller developer, but it should be a good game. I think it's a first-person shooter. And then finally, it's not a game, but it's Ubisoft. It's Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, and this is again set in the 80s animated TV series. It's a dystopian satire, and it's going to be on Netflix from the 19th of October.
Oh, so that's not far off then.
It's created by a fellow called Adi Shankar.
Okay.
And it's basically got all the Ubisoft IP kind of totally remixed in this really amazing way. The animation is it's just like that kind of 80s He-Man, Thundercats, that kind of style. But it's a total mashup of styles, and it was such a cool project to be on. I can't say my role yet, but there will be videos coming out. I can send you some links.
Yes, please do. Sounds good to me. Okay, so that wraps up all the questions that I've got. So now I thought we'd take some time to take some audience questions. And I have to preface this again like I did with Gustavo. There were a lot of questions from people. I think we must have had about 150 in the end. So a lot of people are going to be left out once again, and I apologise to anyone who was. But I did notice this time around a lot of people were asking similar questions in some cases. So if your name isn't used, your question might have been. So fingers crossed. Everyone's happy. Got to try and please as many people as you can, you know what I mean? Okay, these are all randomly ordered, so I may well jiggle these about as we're going along. We'll see how we do then. But we'll start off with Bongo907, who said, is it difficult to read lines in a way that sounds interesting and emotional, whilst also bringing something that people could re-listen to over and over again? They also say that they enjoy your performance and to keep it up, so there's a bit of a compliment at the end. But yeah, so what's it like trying to keep that kind of interesting and emotional persona over and over again doing some of these lines?
Yeah, so at the beginning of every recording session, they play me back some of the lines, sort of key lines from other jobs, so that I can have the reference and get back into it. And there's always, we do it so that I'm in a booth, there's an engineer, and then there's the voice director, whoever it is, usually from the developer, online, who is giving me direction. And kind of like I mentioned before with the professionalism of Shade, and she's got a sense of humor and she just kind of keeps going and she's quite positive. Yeah. Because you're going to be listening to Shade for quite a long time. They want to make sure that she's positive, she's encouraging, she's fun, she's, not too, what's the word? She's a pleasant sound to listen to. So I'm very aware of, not wanting to get too nasal or get too, I don't know, ever sounding judgmental or, when you chastise someone for getting something wrong, like they were very keen to say that Shade never gets angry at the player for getting it wrong. She's just supportive and helps them to to get it right next time.
Yeah, 100%. Let's move on then. So this kind of actually links to what you said there about listening to previous recordings, but Swan Prince wants to know what your process was for getting in character, and also your favourite part of voicing Shade. So 2 things there. But so first off, any other things you do to get into character as Shade?
Yeah, so the main thing is I just basically listen to the reference again. I read over that character brief I mentioned earlier.
Stop teasing me.
Yeah, and I try and just key into the main elements of her vocal performance, which isn't very far from my own, but I just try to get into that slightly deeper range of my voice and imagine. The main thing is I'm always imagining that I'm talking to the Payday gang.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of the visuals, so I always have that in my mind so that it feels realistic. And especially if you asked about preparation. So preparation, also just vocal stuff, just vocal warm-ups and making sure that, the range is working. I've got as other actors have said, I've got my little tea, my lemon ginger tea with honey and my water. And, we just kind of switch it on and get into it.
Okay, cool. Was there a tangent you wanted to go into there that was separate to the question? It sounded like you kind of almost stopped yourself.
Oh yeah. Sometimes Shade is supposed to be doing something while she's talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's like a bugbear of mine when voice actors are supposed to be doing that and they sound like they're just reading the line, like it comes too easily. So I'm always and voice directors are always on about this, to try and make it, to literally imagine that you're like, right now I'm reading something and I'm turning the pages and I'm trying to just get it as I go. So you see how
Yeah, you're actually doing the thing as you go along rather than just reading the line, yeah.
Exactly. So I try to make sure I know when Shade is she just knows stuff and she's saying stuff, or if she's, I can't say, but let's just say in a particular thing, she's maybe reading something and she needs to convey that to people.
This is a tease for the future, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, I would want to make sure that I sound like I'm actually reading something.
Yeah, gotcha. And so have you got a favourite part of voicing Shade? Like if you were to pick something out that stands out most to you, would you have anything in particular?
Yeah, so I really enjoy doing the stealth stuff the best because it feels the nicest in my voice, and I feel like I like that. I like intimacy with the mic and the nuance that you can have, and you can have a bit more humor. And then, as I mentioned, I love the art gallery heist. I like the intros to the jobs because you get a little bit more of a flow going, and you sometimes get a bit more characterization. And the humor. Anytime there's humor, I love that.
Yeah, there's a good bit of humor across the game, to be fair. Even some of the descriptions of like weapons and things like that, they've gone really full in with the humor this time around, which has been really cool. Okay, Dawson Hendricks 4673, trying to read out the whole name, said, did you have any inspiration on your character for Shade, perhaps from other movies or TV shows, or did the character just come through the process of voicing her, and also the 3-page document I can add in there? So is there anything else that you took for inspiration beyond what you were told? Anything that might have subconsciously influenced it?
I don't think so. I think I pretty much took the reference that they gave and the character bio and just came up with some stuff. Sometimes for games, they do actually give you voice references. They say it's like, I mean, the classic one, you can probably guess it. For most female characters in games, who do they reference? Sigourney Weaver. It's like a joke among game actresses, is that's like the sort of go-to. But no, they didn't do that for this. They just gave qualities of her voice, and so I played around. Sometimes I just like to play with where it is in the voice in terms of like pitch, in terms of how forward it is, how far back it is, if it's gravelly, if it's smooth, if it's easy to talk, if it's not, and just there's like endless variations for voice work, and so I just try and turn the dials until I find something that I like and that obviously the client likes.
Then let's move straight on to Cameron Wood 2537, a lot of numbers at the minute, who said, this is a bit of a longer question. When Nicholas was voicing Wolf, he explained an interesting process of becoming the character where he would make his own headcanon backstory for Wolf to fill in the blanks and further immerse himself into the character. When voicing Shade, did you apply any methods to further immerse yourself as the character? And if so, what were they? Love your work so far. Keep up the good work. Not to bring up the joke again, but again, we have got the 3-page document, so separate to that, that is just that is the let's get you back in the saddle of this interview, that 3-page document. It just keeps coming up in every conversation. So yeah, any other headcanons, anything like that?
No, so that kind of immersion stuff, that usually happens when I'm forming the character. So like the first session, that's when I'll spend a lot of time making sure I've read everything, making sure I would listen to, Bain, and I would listen to, not too much because obviously he's a different character, but I would listen to the game. And the main thing I try to do is immerse myself in the world of the game, the tone of the game, because it's different for each game, and you want to make sure that you're just tonally on point. But then once you've established that, I would say that in future sessions, as I say, we did like 35 hours of recording.
Yeah.
By, say yesterday when I was recording, we've kind of got it and we just switch it on.
You know exactly how to tease people. You have got this nailed as an art. Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean the tone in particular, I appreciate you saying that, because the tone is one of the best things about Payday 3. It is very different between games, and Payday 2 definitely got a little bit goofy towards the end. I've been on record saying I think it got a bit too goofy, as much as I love the game. But 3 is very grounded, very serious, and like that Hollywood realism they're going for, and I think the performances are really important for that, so I'm glad that the tone was a very important thing from the start, because it does show.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I mean, that's the developer who sits in on it changes, but who sits in on the sessions. They're listening out for that the whole way. And if it gets too sort of silly, they rein it back in. If it gets too serious, they say, lighten it up. Can you have a bit more fun with it?
Mention the dogs playing poker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good balance. That's a really, really good balance. Okay, interesting. Well, the next question, you actually inadvertently kind of teased earlier in the interview, so I'm excited to ask it fully now. Elian Williams wants to know, in terms of Payday 3, if it was up to her, would Kosha be interested in getting Shade out of the chair and doing some heisting action herself? So can we get it fully on the record now? A Shade heister, would you be up for that?
I would 100% be up for that. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
I probably wouldn't be so good in the loud scenarios. I might just pull back and hide in a corner and like hack away at something while everybody else is shooting. But yeah, of course, that would be super fun.
Yeah, I have to admit, it would be really interesting to see like an operator actually getting out into the heist.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Shade though is that, well, this is now getting into backstory territory. How can I?
Extra tidbits. Come on, extra tidbits.
Okay. So I think that the whole point of Shade is that this is a code name, and she purposely has reinvented herself.
Yes.
Because of being caught previously, and so I think she would have a mask, but she would be very hesitant to want to put herself in a position where she could be apprehended again because of her access to all of this information. And I think she probably wants to, stay on the low and get the field guys out there to do the proper work.
Look at that, the balance between what you want as the actor and what you also know about the character. That's the best way to answer that. I love it. I mean, to be fair, you probably, at the very least, you'll get people probably modding the game to add Shade as a heister. So at the very least, even if it's not an official thing, there'll be people who are like, play as Shade. They'll make like character models and stuff. I'm sure that'll end up happening down the line. So, who knows? That'll be interesting. Okay, we already know that you know a bit about Bain, but Gentleman Enterprises wants to know a bit about what you knew about Bain, but also, were you at all intimidated by filling in his shoes, which they've added, they think you've done very well. So
thank you very much.
There's a vote there. Was that at all intimidating, knowing how big that character was?
Because I hadn't played it, I don't think I was aware of just how big it was. The developers were saying to me, they think at one point they said to me, you may get a bit more interest once the game comes out. We have quite a following. And I was like, oh, okay. But I purposely didn't get sort of caught up in that because I knew that Shade was going to be a totally different character, and I would never try to, compare myself to another actor's performance, especially a male, a totally different character. So, one wants to respect the franchise that one is taking part in, but also put my own stamp and feel free to create something new.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. So you kind of focus on your own performance and not worry too much about it. You want your own performance to stand on its own merits, not for being similar or different to somebody else's, right? Yeah, exactly.
And then also just trust that the developers know what they want, and they obviously have, I think, know what players want, and they've
hopefully
made this
by
choice.
This point, yeah.
So since they made that choice, I'm going with it. So yes,
sounds good to me. Xenocide, which is an interesting name, wants to know if you have a favourite line. We talked about that a little bit. So any other highlighted lines, because they've pointed out they're a big fan, and I would agree on this, of I smell bacon. That's probably one of my favourite lines of Shades as well. That's why I've left it out till now, because I knew it was a question. That was a great call out for a police assault. Any other kind of goofy lines like that beyond the ones you said that come to mind? Anything else you can think of?
I can't think of any. I can think of ones that I did from yesterday, but I'm not allowed to tell you.
Stop! Tell me, I'll sign an NDA, and then whenever it is comes out, we can bring it out of the vault then and be like, this is what should... No, don't do that.
I can tell you, I can't tell you what it is, but I can just say that, what can I say? I can say that, I can't say anything.
No.
But I can say that yesterday recording, I got the giggles so bad because it was so funny. It was so funny. I can't say anything else. I want to so much, but I can't.
No, I know. I appreciate that. That's fair. That's fair. Okay. Well, at least we've got some good stuff to look forward to. That's what we can take away there, right?
Yes. Look forward. yes.
Okay, then speaking of what else you got in the game, Bilbo wants to know, now this is assuming that you have, because I'm not sure if you have, so you can always clear it up here. Bilbo wants to know, was it fun working with the rest of the cast? So I want to add something in here, because did you actually work with any of the other cast members, or was it all on your own?
No, is the short answer.
Right.
But there was a little moment when Marcus, the voice director at the time, had said, "We're going to get all of you together. We're going to get all of you Heisters together to do all the cut scenes. It's going to be amazing. You're going to record together." And I was so excited. And then we just couldn't make the scheduling work. So in the end, sadly, I just had their excellent voices in my head, in my ears. Excuse me. From the cans.
Yeah.
I didn't just imagine. Yeah, and then also just sweet Marcus, reading with me, trying to get the flavor of the scenes. So sadly, no. And this is one of the things about voice acting in games. So rarely do you actually get all the actors in one room recording together. The best you usually achieve is like with Keanu. He's pre-recorded and you're playing against their lines. So no, but I have subsequently heard their performances, and they're great.
Yeah, there's the performances across the board are really, really strong in this game. I suppose it's more of a performance capture thing, isn't it, where you get the actors in the same room because they have to kind of like act with each other as well, whereas the voice acting, it's not a necessity, so very often it doesn't end up happening, which is a shame.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I mean, that is a real shame, because one of the reasons you go into acting is for that group community spirit, and sometimes you don't get it.
Well, we know that the others want to do it. I mean, you said that Kosha was kind enough to say that she'd watched the interview with Chain Toxin and Wolf. So, Pete there was saying, he wants to be flown out to Sweden. He wants everyone to get together. So hopefully at some point down the line, they can make it work for like a story cutscene or something. It would be nice. It would be really cool. That would
be amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. Because you do, no matter how well they performed and they pre-recorded stuff, you just always have a different chemistry when you're literally looking in the eyes of the person you're speaking to.
Yeah, you can bounce off them a lot more rather than it kind of, here's the predefined lines, you need to sync these up and say the responses. Like, it's a lot more interactive, I feel like, then.
Totally.
And I suppose then it gives you a bit more flexibility maybe for improv, because if someone says something funny and then you bounce off it, they might go, actually, let's keep that in. That was good, that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. As we look to the future, which is appropriate, because our final question from Saloon Boone, they want to know, does the possible longevity of the project seem daunting in any way? They've said are there contracts to the VAs that you can speak on with this in mind? That might be a bit of a legal thing that we don't want to say, but like, is it at all, like, for one thing, daunting thinking this character could go on for 10 years? Like, what's that feel like to you?
I haven't thought that far ahead, but I think basically as an actor, you are just always happy for work. So
I kind of hope that would be, that's the kind of the answer that you get sometimes. Like, just as long as I'm getting like food on the table, I'm quite happy,
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, one of the things that has been on my bucket list is to play a character that just goes on and on and on, because, it's really fun. You build a community, you know who that character is, you can just plug in and play, and as we talked about, you can expand that character, they can, do more things. And I think it would be brilliant. It's great to be associated with a fun franchise and, be an important part of it. It's great. It's what actors love, So, yes, not daunted, totally up for it.
There you go. Oh, that's fantastic. That's really, really good. Well, I mean, let's hope that does happen, because as you said, I mean, if Payday 2 can go for 10 years, let's hope Payday 3 can do the same. And we'll have Shade walking us through the whole way along, getting us in the saddle over and over again. Mention it one more time. The listeners will be very happy, I think, with us saying that many times. Well, that's all the audience questions that I've got. So let's wrap up with a little bit of self-promotion, social page sharing. Where can people keep in touch with you, see what you're up to, and interact in any way if they want?
Yes, so they can go to my website, which is koshaengler.com. That's for acting. And then there's a voice website, which is koshaenglervoice.com, where you can see all the games and hear voice clips and whatnot. And then I'm on most socials. It's all on the website as well. But Instagram, I'm on most often. Twitter, bit of Facebook, bit of LinkedIn. What are the rest? I think that's most of them. Yeah.
That's the important ones,
That's the important ones. Yeah. I'm there. I think I'm the only Kosha Engler around, so in the world, so it's not hard to find my name. No.
That's what you want. You want to have a unique name, right?
Yes.
Cool. Well, everyone can keep in touch with you that way, especially as more things come out with, the singing, other roles, all things like that. And this thing you recorded yesterday for Payday, I mean, hey, they do tend to leave voice recording till the end, so I'm hoping that means that we'll hear whatever it is within the next couple of months. You never know. They have said Heists are coming this year, so...
They're very keen to satisfy
very devious
the players'
grin.
demands. Yes, they're working hard to make everybody happy. Give them more to do.
I just want a hint or a teaser, but I know I can't ask you that because you can't. No. It's going to be, if it's anything like me, once you start, you won't stop. So no, I don't want to open that door.
No, they may or may not be related to upcoming seasons, but who knows? So we shall see. See. I don't know.
Well, hey, you never know. May well end up bringing you back if you want and chatting about it more once we've seen more from Shade. Who knows?
Yes.
That'd be cool. Well, there you go. That's everything that I wanted to ask you. Thank you very much, Kosha. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a total pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Thank you very much.